Okay everyone, welcome back to the channel and welcome back to another video on Gran Turismo 7. We're back with the latest 2 million credit time trial guide to try and help you earn these credits as quickly and as easily as possible. Now we are driving the brand new Skoda VGT car. It's an all-electric car. It's not my favourite car to drive, I've got to be brutally honest. Not a massive fan of electric cars. Although I did quite enjoy the Volkswagen IDR when they launched that. That was actually enjoyable, but this car's a little bit different, understeers a lot more, a lot of torque steering, which we'll talk about in the guide. But yeah, if you do appreciate these guides, if they help you out, hit the like button, subscribe to the channel. We do these every single week to try and get you them 2 million credits as quickly and as easily as possible. So as you can see from the footage, we are at Watkins Glen, and to enter this time trial, you're going to go into sport mode in the top right hand section there. From there, you'll be greeted with 2 separate time trials. We have the guide for the Interlagos guide on the channel also, so if you want to check that out, feel free to check that out. But we're going to go into Watkins Glen in this new Vision car, and you can see there we did briefly manage to get into the top 10. I think it was a joint top 10 time with Olive, so we do have a ghost to chase. I predict this is going to go down to a 1:36 at least flat that you're going to need to get for the goal, so you're probably going to want to get into the late 55s to ensure that goal time. You can see there I'm joint P10 with Olive there, both exactly the same time, and we did get into the top 10 when we actually set the lap, which gives us a ghost. Now we didn't push this massively. I did this live on stream, so there's a lot more time to find, but I just didn't really enjoy driving this car, so I just thought get a solid lap in, get the guide out, and hopefully help you get this goal. So going into turn 1, you're going to have to brake incredibly early because you're going really quick into this braking zone. So you can see there we're braking before the 400 board, and that will give you enough time to slow the car down and start getting it rotated into this apex. Now you want to get your right hand tyre to just clip that apex off the curb so you can get on the throttle as early as you can. So you've got to be very patient with the throttle though. You'll notice there's a bit of a delay of how early you put the throttle down in this car compared to normal race cars, because obviously you have no gears and obviously you have a lot of understeer of the torque of this car. Now stay all the way to the width of the track for the entry into this right hander, completely flat out here, and then at the top of the hill here you're going to start chucking it in before you get to the grey tarmac. You're actually chucking in early to get it to the left. If you don't do that, you might not be able to do this flat out, but if you get it right, you can keep your throttle down all the way through that sector without lifting at all. Now going into the next braking zone, we are going to again use the 400 board, but again going to brake ever so slightly short of that 400 board. You can see the braking inputs going in now, and we're quite short of the 400 there. Now what you want to do here is get it over the curb on the right hand side. Now be careful because sometimes it can just take off and ricochet off the curb, but if you get it right, just a nice amount of curb there, it should take it smoothly. And then as soon as you land, back on the brakes ever so slightly, not aggressively, just a tiny bit of braking input just to get the rotation back for this next part and to keep it to the left hand side, and then you can get your left hand tyre over this last curb here on the left. And now it's really important that your left hand tyre of the car does not go over the curb, because obviously you will get a penalty and it get invalidated. So if you can do that and keep it smooth like we've done there, you should be lined up nicely now just to let the car coast through this corner. You're going to see I'm hardly putting any inputs in, no brake, no throttle, letting the car just rotate ever so slightly through this corner. And then when I feel the confidence to put the power down, which is very late in this car, you can see there we're on the throttle there. Now I could have gone a little bit early. You can see my left hand tyre only just briefly touches the curb, so we could have been a bit more aggressive. And then into the next braking zone, you can see we're just going past the Coca-Cola sign on the right hand side. We're pretty much level with that, and way before the 200 board on the brakes, extremely early compared to your normal cars on the braking with this car. Now what that will enable you to do is to keep a very narrow line through here, and this will gain you quite a bit of time. If you keep the car nice and narrow through here, this is where the grip is, the camber of the corner, and then you can get on that power and accelerate out quite early, but still again being very patient on the throttle. It's really important with this car, patience with throttle. Now into the next braking zone, you can see we're hitting it already, 300 board, again very early on the brakes, and what that's going to enable you to do is again take this very narrow line through this long right hand corner. So if you understeer wide here, it loses you a massive amount of lap time, so keeping it nice and narrow to the curb, and then again very patient on the throttle. You can see not going 100% straight away, just gradually feeding that throttle in, and then once you've got the confidence, 100% throttle all the way into the next braking zone, which again we're going to be using the 300 board on our left there and braking pretty much dead level with that. So just as you're approaching it now, onto the brakes. Now I brake a bit late here, fraction late, which loses me a 10th or 2 into the braking zone. You're going to see against the ghost. I was actually catching his ghost up at some points on this as we trail brake in, but you can see don't quite hit the curb there, and don't really manage to get the acceleration out as much as I'd like, but it's not terrible. We've probably lost a tenth or two there, and then into the next braking zone, we're braking way before that 200 board. You can see again, extremely early onto the brakes for every corner, and that again will enable you to slow it down, get it rotated. And again, I did get it rotated here, but it would have been better to take the line that the Ghost is taking up ahead there that I highlighted. I take a very narrow line here, which means I have to then get off the throttle and wait patiently before I put the throttle down, and then square it off almost. So a little bit of time lost there, another tenth or so lost in that corner. And now into the next corner, we're going to again brake just before the 200 board. Again, very early, just not aggressive on the brakes here though. You can see straight away lifting off and trail braking in, and then just being patient before we put the throttle down. You can see throttle going in there again. It's feeding it into 100%, not just straight away 100%. And again, for the final corner, so early on the brakes, you can see I'm braking when my car's not even over to the left-hand side of the track. And that will enable you then to get the car rotated in, clip the curb on the exit there, and then it should get you on the throttle nice and early if you can take that tighter line. You can see I think I actually gain on the Ghost ahead there through that final corner. And we're going to go over the line for a 34.7. Like I say, there's very much a 33 in this. I think you're going to see lap times well into the 33s. Pretty confident if I push this, we could get down to a very low 34 at least. But yeah, a few laps of this car was enough for me. It wasn't the most entertaining car I've ever driven. I wasn't that keen on it. The more you drive it, you start understanding it though, with regards to the torque steering. You can see using the full width of the track there. One thing to note about turn one is make sure your right hand side doesn't go too far over and over the curb, because it will invalidate that lap. So yeah, the more you drive it, the more you start understanding with the torque of the car. You have to be very gentle with the throttle, not just slamming that throttle down like you can do with some cars. You got to be just progressive with the throttle, and very, very early on the brakes, and let the coasting of the car just rotate it through like here. Just waiting for the car to rotate, and then when the confidence is there, you're getting on that throttle. It's one of them cars where you need to be very, very smooth, very progressive with throttle, and braking extremely early because you're accelerating at such a rate. So yeah, the earlier on the brakes, the better you can then take the lines for these corners, and then that means you can get on the throttle slightly earlier as well. Like through this corner, you can see onto the throttle and then accelerating out the corner into the next braking zone. You're going to see here how I missed the apex as well. You can actually spot it on this camera angle. Braked a bit too late. You can see there's a bit of a gap between the apex there, maybe a tenth or so at least lost on that corner. And then again, similar for this line, you can see if I would have took a slightly wider entry, I could have rotated it in better. You can see I'm squaring it off now and waiting for that throttle input. So again, them two corners there, definitely time to gain of what I've done there. So try and get that right when you're doing your lap. But yeah, overall, I mean, it's not the worst time trial we've ever had. It's just not my favourite car for this one. Let me know what you think about this new Skoda in the comment section, if you enjoyed it or not. It's not my favourite. I think we've had better. I preferred the IDR car, to be honest, the Volkswagen IDR that have really high downforce. But I'm sure some of you will enjoy these cars. It's not for everyone. But yeah, let me know if you managed to get the gold, silver or bronze, or if we've helped you get them, and get subscribed to the channel. It all helps me out. I'll see you again for another one of these videos again next week. Thanks again for watching, everyone.